1,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago were marrying gay people, which the Catholic Church don't like to acknowledge now, but that's actually true.
Next, who do we have? Raise your hand, please.
Did anyone get a look at Roymore's white horse with a particular?
Very pretty. It's a handsome horse, yes.
Right here in the front.
My experience in the Huntsville community is that we live in an area where there's a lot of people of all walks of life, so we're pretty accepting. I did like wedding week a couple months ago, and I've never encountered too many people, especially of my age, that were so homophobic or at least against the idea of making it legal. But that's Huntsville, and I've seen other parts of Alabama are not like that. When you show this film in other areas of the South, do you run into confrontations like that? Like what's...
Well, we were in Florence just the other day, and it was showed in Sidewalk in Birmingham, and this week we're going to be going to actually Montgomery tomorrow, but that's going to be at the Civil Rights Centre down there, and then Birmingham, and then Troy, which I think is a big deal for Troy to get it in there. Paul, right? Am I right about that?
How many any Troy Trojans out there? I'm curious. Okay. Well, of course, I'm an Alabama graduate and now teach at Auburn Montgomery, so I'm confused. But no, Troy main campus a few years ago had their chancellor said there are no gay people on this campus. I guess that brick archway they have over the entrance to the campus has lasers embedded in it, and if they come through, it just blasts them into dust. But okay, going from that, when they approached the student affairs department about, and what happened was there was an openly gay member of faculty. That was the real kick in the pants for them. And he had a safe zone sticker on his door that I had given him because they weren't able yet to have the training. And a student saw it and contacted this professor when they were contemplating suicide. And this was done with the knowledge and awareness of the Student Affairs Office. And so when they approached them and said, we'd like to have a peace walk, literally a pride parade on campus, they were cool with it. And when they approached them about showing this film as a follow-up, they not only said, we'll pay to bring it, but we were endorsing it. So it's a very conservative area of Alabama. We may see a slightly different reception. Who knows? But this is exciting news, and this is a change.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, we the other day, James and I went to a gospel station here and did an interview, and had the same kind of conversation that goes on in the film there. And the DJ said afterwards, well, we've pissed off 80% of the listenership there. But truthfully, that's who the film is for. It's for people, it's not just for preaching to the choir, it is to get to people who maybe need to open their mind a little bit. I know that sounds very condescending, and I really don't mean it in that way, because I was one of those people a year ago, not incredibly homophobic, but the spectrum that I talked about, somewhere on there, so.
I'd like to say, absolutely. I think too, there's a bubble, and we kind of get sucked into our little bubbles in these cities. I think Birmingham and Huntsville and Montgomery even, and Florence, I think they're pretty big now, aren't they? I mean, they're getting there. But like I think we get sucked into the mindset of our bubbles that we're like, everybody must think this way because we're around all of these cool people that don't think like that, But the second you expand that bubble, you go out a little bit further, you start hearing more and more, and you start seeing more and more, and you just pay a little more attention. It's there. There's a lot of homophobia in this state, in our cities, that we're just not aware of because we tend to surround ourselves with like-minded people, I think, and I don't want to deal with those kind of people, so I tend to not deal with those kind of people, But I think once you kind of get out of your comfort zone and you kind of expand out a little bit, you'll see more of that, and it's real prevalent. It still is.
We have a Bill again.
Did anybody make the point that the laws of the United States are not based on the Bible, they're based on the Constitution, and the Constitution does not quote the Bible?
Yeah, well, obviously that was a conversation that I had with Roy Moore as he continued to talk about the Constitution, and then, you know, he quoted common law, which law, not to get too much into that, you know, you can go back to Roman law, which is what a lot of common law comes from, which has nothing to do with Christianity either. But honestly, Roy Moore is a person who's unmoved by facts and reason. That doesn't come into his orbit. Do you know what I mean? He knows what he knows, and he doesn't care what anybody else thinks. And the same thing for John Eidsmoe as well. Matthew Kidd is a 26-year-old guy who's just out of law school, and of course he's got those attitudes. But I mean, he's just surrounded by these other people who, you know, constantly shooting these negative beams at him. But no, it's really strange because I felt like I could have sat in that room with Roy Moore for like 24 hours and not made a dent. It didn't matter how many times, he constantly pivots away, but I caught him a couple of times.
He was pivoting away to Lisa.
He was pivoting, yeah, exactly. He was pivoting away to the camera woman. He was constantly looking at her backside. But that's true. Think how Lisa feels. But he was constantly, but when I would catch him, he just had nothing there. Do you know what I mean? Like, you hear him with his Sarah Palin moment where he tries to imply he has gay friends, but he can't quite bring himself to say that. He just got flustered. But no, I mean, I did bring up those points, but it's like hitting your head off a brick wall.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question?
What
Okay.
part of
Steven?
Alabama did you spend time in?
Florence, Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, and then in between there was some like smaller little rural areas, one of which we were threatened in to leave when we were asking people what they thought about marriage equality.
No, not for the film, I mean like personally.
Oh, I'm sorry. Totally blew that question. Where have I lived? Is that what you're asking? I lived in Coleman. That's everybody's reaction whenever you say Coleman.
Coleman too.
Yeah, exactly. It's the seventh gate of hell or something when you say that. But yeah, I lived in Coleman for a while. Don't ask me why.
Dakota? Dakota?
Are you safe? Are you safe? You feel safe now that you got out of home?
I'm perfectly fine, thank you.
He lives in Ireland.
Dakota?
Are you going to take this down to Mobile, show it down there, or?
We showed it in Montgomery. I would like the film to be seen everywhere it possibly can be. I'm definitely coming back in the spring to two colleges that I know, and I would like to show it in as many places as possible. It really just depends on who asks us to come back and all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, I would like it to find a broadcaster in America, so it could have a big audience and people could discuss it. And if not, that Netflix. But I'll just have to see if we can make that happen. You know.
You can write to APT. I sent it to the guy, but I guess.
Yeah, write to APT and tell them that you want to see it.
Someone else? Bobby?
Was there a particular religious group that you found especially hostile towards you while you were doing the interviews?
I suppose, well, the most hostile conversation I had was with Roy Moore. When I interviewed the two chaps from the Foundation for Moral Law, I never challenged them because I thought I'd really like to interview Roy Moore and challenge him, and I thought if I gave them a hard time, that would never happen. And so in October of 14, I interviewed them, and then the following January when everything blew up, I emailed them and said, hey, I'd love to come over and interview Roy Moore. And I guess he thought, he's from Ireland, so he didn't see me as being part of this, and it was straight. So that was the other thing, so that's how he would let me come in and interview him, because I'm positive he wouldn't let a gay person come in.
But still a snappy